Somewhere right now, a dog is lying on a couch, staring at a wall. Its owner probably thinks it's thinking about nothing. Maybe food, maybe squirrels. But here's a question that sounds simple until you actually sit with it. Does that dog know it exists? Does it know it's a dog? Living a life, experiencing this exact moment? Or is it just a biological machine reacting to smells and sounds with nobody actually home behind those eyes? And here's the version of that question that should genuinely bother you. What if you're one of the only things in the entire animal kingdom that knows it's alive? What if almost everything else on Earth is just running? In 1970, psychologist Gordon Gallup Jr. designed what's still considered the gold standard test for this exact question. It's called the mirror test. Researchers place a small, odorless mark on an animal's body, somewhere it can only see using a mirror, never by looking down. Then they watch what happens. Most animals see the reflection and treat it like a stranger. They posture. They threaten it. Eventually, they get bored and walk away, never once realizing the animal in the mirror was them the entire time. But a small handful of species do something completely different. They look at the mirror, notice the mark, and reach up to touch their own body. They understand the reflection is them. The list of animals that pass is oddly specific. Chimpanzees, orangutans, dolphins, orcas, elephants, and strangely, one bird, the Eurasian magpie, a creature with a brain the size of your thumb that somehow figured out what it looks like. The list of animals that fail includes dogs, cats, and almost every other mammal on Earth, including human babies for the first 2 years of their lives. Clean answer, right? Some animals are self-aware, most aren't. Except the test has a massive flaw. Dogs experience the world almost entirely through smell, not sight. Testing a dog's self-awareness with a mirror is a little like testing your intelligence using a smell test. The format is wrong, not necessarily the dog. In 2017, researcher Alexandra Horowitz redesigned the experiment specifically for dogs. Instead of a mirror, she used scent. She gave dogs their own urine, a modified version of it, and a completely unfamiliar sample, then watched which one they investigated the longest. Dogs spent significantly more time with the altered version of their own scent. They noticed something about themselves had changed. In their own sensory world, dogs may know exactly who they are, which honestly is a wild thing for science to have to prove. Somewhere there's a research paper that essentially concludes dogs pass the self-awareness test as long as the test involves smelling their own pee for an unusually long time. Peer-reviewed. Published. That happened. But knowing who you are is different from knowing that you are. Philosophers call the second one metacognition, thinking about your own thinking, being aware that you're aware. It's what you're doing right now. You're not just reading these words. You know that you're reading them. You can zoom out and observe yourself from the outside. In 2007, researchers at the University of Georgia tested this on rhesus monkeys with a memory test, giving them a choice after each question. A harder question worth more points, or an easier one worth less. The monkeys consistently picked easy questions when uncertain and hard ones when confident. They weren't just answering. They were evaluating how well they knew the answer before committing. That's metacognition, and it's since been documented in rats, pigeons, and dolphins too. But here's the wall none of this can break through. Everything so far is behavior. We can watch what an animal does. We cannot get inside what it feels. Philosophers call this qualia, the raw, private texture of experience. The specific redness of red. The particular sting of a paper cut. In 1974, philosopher Thomas Nagel published a paper asking what it's like to be a bat, arguing that even with perfect knowledge of a bat's brain, we could never actually access its subjective experience of navigating the world through sound. If that's true for a bat, it's true for every animal we've ever studied. Possibly true for the person sitting next to you too, if we're being honest about how little any of this can actually be proven from the outside. In 2012, a group of leading neuroscientists gathered at Cambridge University and signed what's now called the Cambridge Declaration on Consciousness, concluding that the neurological structures responsible for consciousness in humans are not unique to us. Birds, mammals, and possibly other species share the same underlying brain architecture. The hardware is there. Whether the lights are actually on is the part nobody can prove. And then there's the piece of evidence that's genuinely hard to explain away. In 2018, an orca named Talikwa lost her newborn calf shortly after birth. For 17 days, she carried its body across more than 1,000 miles of ocean, refusing to let go, with other members of her pod taking turns helping her when she got tired. There was no survival benefit to this, no food reward, no evolutionary shortcut being served. Scientists called it the longest documented grieving behavior ever recorded in a non-human animal. If that's not a creature that understands something existed and now doesn't, it's genuinely hard to say what would qualify. So where does that leave us? Some animals recognize themselves, some think about their own thinking, some grieve in ways that look unmistakably like ours. But the deepest version of the question, whether there's something it actually feels like to be that animal in that exact moment, remains just out of reach. Here's the part that actually changes everything, though. In 1966, a chimpanzee named Washoe became the first non-human animal to learn American Sign Language. She learned over 350 signs and taught some of them to her own son. One day, a researcher who'd been away for months came back to visit. The moment Washoe saw her, she signed one word: cry. Then she pointed directly at the researcher's eyes. Cry. She wanted to know why the woman wasn't crying, why she wasn't as moved by the reunion as Washoe clearly was. Whether or not Washoe fully understood her own existence, she understood the researchers. She noticed an absence of emotion in someone else and asked about it directly, unprompted, using language she wasn't born with. That's not instinct reacting to a stimulus. That's one mind reaching toward another one, checking if it felt the same thing. So maybe the real question was never whether animals are self-aware enough to matter to us. Maybe it's how long we've been underestimating what's actually been looking back at us this entire time, on couches, in oceans, and in cages we built without ever asking permission. If your brain enjoyed peeling back a mystery like this one, that's the whole point of this channel. Like this video, subscribe, and let's keep peeling.